All right, everyone, welcome back to the Performance Matters podcast. I'm your host, Matrix, and we're joined today by Coach Steven Fife of the Thorold Elite Track Club. But before we get into our guests, I want to send a reminder that there are two types of people in this world. There are subscribers and there's non-subscribers. So you might as well join the Cool Kid Club. And of course, like, follow, subscribe to us. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on YouTube, whatever your platform of choice might be, because naturally we want to make sure that we're always able to bring you guys weekly rants, raves, and revelations. And of course, this episode is brought to us by Iron Performance Center, Niagara's premier strength and conditioning facility right here in the Niagara region. And also, big shout out to Pete Method Photography, the premier sportsographer in the Niagara region. And he can be contacted at www.petemethodphotography.com. So make sure you guys always support local down here in the South. So, Coach Steven Fife, thank you first off for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you give us a little backstory, right? For those that don't know you, a little brief synopsis.
Yeah, so I am the head coach and founder of Thorold Elite Track Club. This is actually our 10th year anniversary. So started back in 2016 and really started very, very unexpectedly. So 10 years ago, the high school I was teaching at didn't have a track team. A girl in grade 10 had gone around and asked all the teachers, would you start up a track team? And I was sort of the only person that said I would help out with that. I definitely did not want to be in charge of it at the time. I really didn't have any experience or knowledge. I know that's super hard for people to believe right now, but I ended up being the one that said I would do it. So I was in charge of it. And it really just grew at first as a high school team over those next 2, 3, 4 years. And then there happened to be a couple kids that were super into it, wanted to do it sort of all year round. And so that's what transitioned it into a club program. We were originally based in Thorold. That's where the name comes from, although we do have athletes from all over Niagara. And really, that's how it started, very grassroots and very much not on my radar. But sometimes just by saying yes to something that you don't know what you're getting into, it can be very transformative. And that's obviously what happened here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big milestone, 10 years coming up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So then, I guess within that 10 years, like what point did you realize that you're kind of building something special? Like, was there like a moment that was kind of like, man, this is going to be something?
Yeah, I think it was probably during COVID. So it took about 4 years, like that 2020 mark. We had definitely had some successes before that. But I think we were one of the sports maybe that benefited a little bit during the pandemic because a lot of other team sports and group sports weren't able to operate. And we were outdoor. We were a little bit more individual. We could have smaller groups that were spaced out. So we did get sort of some kids that weren't able to do their primary sports that looked towards running or looked towards track that hadn't done it before. And I think that allowed us to sort of keep going and keep growing a little bit at a time when other activities were hindered. And so when we bounced back from COVID, that was sort of our strongest. It took 2 years for OFSA to come back, but that was sort of our strongest OFSA. And then it's really just kept going from there.
Yeah.
So I think that's when it was like we definitely had some successes before that. We had our first national champion right before that. And I think that was also something that was an important milestone to have a national gold medalist only 3 years into our existence was also something that made people take notice.
Yeah, it puts you on the map a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, these guys are legit.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Love it. So what do you think's been like some of the biggest obstacles in growing the club?
There really are many, and lots of different types of obstacles. Certainly there's been like facilities and things of that nature, especially in the winter. Track is not a super accessible sport in the winter, and we've definitely done our best to alleviate some of that. But especially for jumpers and throwers, if that's your primary event, you really don't have anywhere local that you can train. So we've had to really be creative and try to create some spaces in gyms and whatnot. But in order to actually jump in a jumping pit or on mats or to be able to throw, really there's nowhere closer than Guelph or Toronto. So those are some of the obstacles that we've had for sure. Even just being able to grow, we definitely have to continue to evolve to make sure that we can meet the changing needs of our group, because we've gone from honestly a club that had 4 members at the start to getting up to 40 to 50 to 100 to 200 and now to over 300. So while there's a lot of positives about the growth, it does come with its challenges as well in terms of just being able to logistically coordinate and administer everything and making sure that the needs of all those different training groups can be met. So that means being able to have more coaches, more volunteers, more staff, and all the things that come along with that as well. So that's definitely been another challenge, but we've been up to that challenge and we've continued to evolve throughout the years to meet those needs as they change.
Yeah. It comes with growth, right? Like, the bigger things get, the ripples out, more
Yeah,
staff required, more amenities. Pretty much, the overhead goes up as well, right? It's
exactly.
part of
Yeah.
any other organization too. So,
Yeah.
in those last 10 years, like, what do you think's been the biggest thing when it comes to like your leadership style? Like, how has that evolved in the last 10 years?
Yeah, in some ways, it's been more hands-on, and in some ways, I've brought in more people to take over certain parts of it. So,
Yeah.
I think definitely I'm not the figurehead that I once was. I think that we've brought in a lot more people that have taken ownership of certain groups and certain programs, and that has helped as well. So, being able to pull back on some areas and let people who are maybe better qualified or better experienced to take on those roles has definitely made a difference. Obviously, it's not something that one person can do all of it. It's certainly already more than a full-time job, but with any organization or with any successful team, having a great team behind you or working with you makes all the difference as well. And we definitely have that from our team of coaches who are also great leaders to our board of directors and other volunteers within the organization. It really is a team and a village. It certainly takes a village to achieve this level of success. So I'm grateful for that. And so I've been a leader when I need to be a leader on certain things, but I've also learned when to step back and let somebody else take
Yeah.
things
Like
on.
delegate. Yeah. It's time to like
Yeah.
delegate certain roles. Like, hey, you know, I always find too when it comes to, trying to grow something, it's like, well, you don't want to just have like clones of yourself. You want people with like
Yes,
new perspectives, new skill sets, like
for
have
sure.
different points of view and with some fresh ideas. You know what I mean? Like it's always nice you can say, you know what, that's actually a pretty good idea. Like delegate to that. You can see where pilot that out and run with that and see what it
Yes.
becomes, right? And then you just simply facilitate, within the constraints, like, hey, this is the boundaries you have, go for it. Run with it and see where you can take it.
And that's why I say evolution, because we don't want to just do the same thing we've always done or just because we've always done it. So
Yeah.
definitely we are open to new ideas and taking things in a new direction. Yep.
Yeah, it's still that way. I agree. So
Yep.
then, what do you think, when we come to the development side of things,
Hmm.
what do you think's like a lesson, like one lesson you've learned last 10 years when it comes to coaching? Like what's like one like lesson you've learned, like, man, like something I thought 10 years ago, versus 10, 10 years later, like what's something you've learned, like one big one that's kind of evolved?
Yeah, I think the importance of actual long-term development, and that goes to one of the evolutions that we've had is that when we didn't have the large number of members, we might have had a 12-year-old training alongside a 17-year-old just because the groups were smaller. But what we've discovered is the importance of actually following a pathway that's age appropriate and that has peers similar ages training together. So we now have 4 different levels. Grade 2 and under train together, grade 3 to 6 train together, grade 7 to 9 train together, and grade 10 and older train together. And that
Yeah.
includes university ages as well. So not only does it match with their physical development, but again, it's age appropriate and they sort of graduate from one program to the next. And you can see that there is a significant difference from kids that have started younger and have moved through that pathway, which is developmentally appropriate.
Mhm.
Um, not only are they moving better, so they have better physical literacy, there's a lot more injury prevention, so less injuries. You can definitely see the benefits of following that
Yeah.
pathway.
Yeah. Love that word too. We use that word a lot too. Physical literacy is a big one. I think that kind of
Yeah.
gets muddled a bit. I think a lot of people, I think when it comes to the talks of early specialization,
Yes.
people like are really big on like, especially in certain sports, like it's very common, right? Like,
Hmm.
hockey's a big one, right?
Yes.
Because I get the logistics. It's different. Like kids are getting drafted to the OHL at like 15 years old. They're moving
For
from
sure.
home, and then they might get drafted to the pro level at 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
So then, do you think kids are specializing too early when it comes to track in general?
We do see it in some cases, but we're pretty strong on that kids should be multi-sport athletes at least until grade 9 or 10. We do think track is a great secondary sport for somebody that's already highly invested somewhere else, but we're very strong on if somebody even wants to specialize in track at grade 7 or 8, that's too early for it. So again, talking about long-term development, injury prevention, all of these different things, we definitely encourage them to stick with two sports up until sort of grade 9 or 10. And then if track is their primary pathway, or if something else is their primary pathway, by the time they're in grade 10 and 11, then we help them along that road.
Yeah.
But we definitely do think that there is, in general, too much of a push towards early specialization. So
Yeah.
every sport becoming year round is definitely problematic. It impacts not only other club sports, but it impacts at the school level as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I get you. So then, like, obviously, like track, the athletes you have, they probably come from other sports as well, right? Like, you have a variety of other sports.
correct. Yeah.
Is there a sport that you think actually makes really good track athletes? Like, is there like people coming from certain sport and like, hey, like, we see a lot of kids coming from, I don't know, basketball or hockey or something, and be like, man, they make really good track stars.
Yep, there's different ones for different events, and reasons for that being maybe certain movements are part of the track event. So, for example, high jumping when you take off is very similar to doing a layup in basketball. So, basketball players also tend to be tall and lean. So, we do see a lot of basketball players that make good high jumpers. We see a lot of volleyball players that make good throwers simply because they might have strong arms or long arms. And so they're able to throw a javelin or throw a discus very well. Um, Obviously, there's a multitude of different positions in football. So you can argue that the defense and the linebackers make good throwers, and that's good for their strength training, whereas some of the faster guys are good sprinters. So there's so many different ways that track is a part of other sports, and the fundamental movements of running, jumping, throwing are integrated into so many other things that no matter what sport it is, there's definitely something that's transferable. Another one is gymnasts. A lot of times gymnasts are retiring early, sort of around 12, 13, and they're looking to track, and maybe they become hurdlers or jumpers as well because they're very body smart and body aware. So we do see that a lot as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, we preach all the time to all of our kids, like, you should do track at some point. Like, try it. Try track. Cause like, it's no
Yep,
different than how you try to put all these different performance faucets together to make whatever the skill you're trying to invest in and take on to university or pro.
yep,
They're all just derivatives of, that sport itself. No different than how, like, might use Olympic weightlifting derivatives to get a certain outcome, right? We still do like sprint work in here as well. Be like,
for
hey, like,
sure.
it's
Yep,
all part of this itself. It can be a sport. We're taking derivatives of something that's going to help you in whatever sport you're invested in. So it's like it's a good call to action for a lot of athletes. Like, hey, look, like, you might want to be a
yep,
hockey player, basketball player, football player,
yes,
but you should dabble in and try and learn the mechanics of sprinting and how to run and rhythm and coordination.
exactly.
It's all going to help you be better at whatever outcome you choose. Right.
Exactly. And I think the great thing about it is that every performance is quantifiable. So we talk
Yeah.
about performance matters, right? So every time you do a race, you're getting a time or you're getting a distance. So you can see incrementally that you are getting better, the same way that you could see if you add weight to your squat or whatever. And I think, like, we're talking about other sports and other athletes that may be great athletes, but maybe they don't know how to run properly, or they don't have the exact mechanics or movement down. And that's sort of the message that we're trying to say, is that by doing track at a younger age, you can learn those things and benefit from those things and then take them and transfer them into your other sports as well. So I think if we're watching like a soccer game, we can generally see who does track or who has run track just
Mhm.
based on how they run and what their mechanics are. And I mean, even at the higher level of NFL and NHL, there's statistics about how many of those draft picks have run track, and it's a significantly high number as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think even when we had Steve Mesler on, he did track at Florida, and then he
Hmm.
got into bobsledding. Like,
Yep,
you know what I mean? Like, he had the mechanics of how to sprint. He had the power output for like short distance sprinting. He's like, okay, well, he was
exactly.
a natural fit to go into bobsleds. Like, they're all very powerful people, right? But they all came from track.
Yep,
You know what I mean? So I
definitely. Yep.
think again, I think it's a big thing. And you mentioned it's quantifiable, which I love because it's very hard to quantify if certain aspects are making an impact on performance in team sports.
Yes,
It's there's too many
that's
variables,
right.
right? It's like an open environment. You're responding to chaos.
Yep,
You have teammates to coordinate with. You have opponents you're responding to. So it's really always hard when the outcomes like score points, but
yep,
responding to all these variable, factors. Track's nice, like hey, distance or whatever it is, and be like, hey, from point A to point B, we can break break the whole cycle down and say, hey, here's where our weak points might lie. And you could easily,
yep.
I shouldn't say easily, I could say you can more readily accessible to go ahead and target those weak links and be like, hey, like this is the part of X distance that we have to improve. Here's the game plan to improve that. And that tide will raise all ships essentially, right?
For sure. And I mean, there is still variables to it, like wind, for example. In a
Mm.
100 meter, if you have a tailwind versus a headwind, you're going to get a different time, but you can still convert that and sort of figure
Yeah.
out where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that part of it. It's a big thing. So we're talking about, let's say, developing speed as an example.
Mhm.
What do you think separates elite sprinters from maybe just good sprinters?
I think any event, whether it's sprinting, jumping, throwing, like at the highest level, it comes down to such the minute technical details. So it's going to be the person that is committed enough to really understand it at that level and then apply it with the right coaching and with the right training. That's what's ultimately going to make the difference because at that level, we're talking about milliseconds, like a point zero 0.01 or point zero 0.02 personal best in the 100 meter at that level, if you're under 10 seconds, for example, could be a huge PB at that point.
Yeah,
So,
it's massive.
yeah.
So then what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes athletes make when trying to get faster?
I think there's a few things. One of them is that people are sometimes not patient enough.
That's a
They
big
think that it's going to happen immediately right away. And sometimes when you're changing something, so you're learning new mechanics, you kind of have to break it down first and then build it back up. And it does take a lot of drills and a lot of repetition. And some athletes simply are not willing to do that. Like they just want to run, for example, but
Mhm.
they're not willing to do like the nitty gritty kind of stuff in order to make it better. So that would be one of them. Um, Another one is sometimes just people that go out and they watch videos on YouTube or something. And it's great that there is a lot of stuff out there, but it's not necessarily following a progressive plan. You might just be finding a random video, taking a workout that's not really the best fit for you. So sometimes YouTube, while it is a great resource, it can also be a dangerous resource. So that would be another one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I was thinking, the patience one is a big one. We see that too. It's like you're not going to set records every single day. I think that's
Yep,
like a big one. People, how you sleep, how you eat, like how your stress levels are. There's a whole bunch of factors. It could just be an off day, right? Like it's never going to be like you can't. It's really hard to set
correct.
a
Yep,
day and be like, okay, we're going to PR today. Like you try to like taper for certain things. And you try to build up a whole plan for that. But it's like at some point, like it's a very small window, right? So it's like patience is a big one. Like there's gonna be a lot of things that
yep,
break down all these component parts before you kind of assemble it together for a better fine-tuned product versus just trying to max out every single time or run your fast every single time. It's like, well, we kind of say it's like hitting your head against a hypothetical ceiling, right? Like you have to
yep.
put some groundwork in to actually raise that ceiling. I think a good one of our guests we had on, Coach Kid, she had a great kind of a good like breakdown of just outputs in general. He's like, all outputs are not created equal. He's like, if you're 6'1" at 13 years old, you'll probably be a pretty good basketball player,
Yep,
right? You don't have to do anything. You'll probably just be good at basketball. All of a sudden, like you're 6'1" and you're 16 years old. Well, there's a lot of 6'1", 16-year-olds, but now they're all practicing a certain way. So, okay,
yep.
now, when you get to 18 or 19, like, okay, everyone's 6'1", everyone's practicing a certain way, but now they're also training the right way. And then
That's
when you
right.
want to go to pro, it's like, well, now they're all 6'1", training the right way. They're all practicing the right way. Now it's how they're doing certain things at certain times, right? Like these outputs, you have to be more specific as you get more elite. Like now
Exactly.
those minute details, like you said, start to matter a lot more because now we're talking about it's easy to plateau when you're novice. You're learning a lot of skills. You'll probably get a lot better really quickly. And then
Hmm.
once you kind of optimize all those things, now we're trying to shave off, like you said, like milliseconds out of time. And that's going to take a lot of fine tuning, right? Like really trying to sand down those rough edges. But I
Yep,
think athletes need to hear that. It's like this is a process, like anything. It's going to be a process. You have to be willing to be patient and kind of bird's eye view a lot of times. It's not there just to you're not going to set records every day. It's like whatever the intent of the plan of the day is, like try to win that outcome of the day. It's like, hey,
that's right. Yep,
here's our drill. Try to win that drill. It's not always gonna be top speed. It might be mechanical, it might be skill based. It's like try to win it that way. Like become really good at those minute details because they all will assemble at some point to a fine tuned product.
Yeah, and it goes back to the word development. Like you
Yeah.
can't really develop in 2 weeks or in a month, so you have to give it minimally a season, but really a year, I would say, like
Mhm.
to really see some growth and progression for sure.
Yeah, I gotcha. So when we talked about the development side, you mentioned obviously like you're trying to be age appropriate. So like,
Yeah.
how do you think coaching changes from let's say a 12 or 13-year-old to like a 16 or 17 or 18-year-old?
Yeah, so it becomes a little bit more specific and a little bit more one-on-one or smaller group. So at least in our club, our 12 to 13-year-old groups are still fairly large at that point.
Mhm.
So you're working out with a strong training group, but you're not necessarily getting as much individual attention, nor do the kids need that much because they're sort of not at a level where they're understanding it at a
Yeah.
deeper level. But if you are a high performance athlete who's 16 years old, then every sort of part of your block start is going to matter. Your drive phase is going to matter. So you need the level of coaching of somebody that has that knowledge and that specificity to work through that with you. So I think that's what sort of happens is it's almost like a funnel. So as they progress through it, the number of athletes is going to go down, the time with the coach is going to go up, the level of coaching is going to go up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more like scalpel precision almost, like
Yeah.
kind of like be really specific. Yeah, I get that. I find too with young athletes, like for us, we try to like say the cutoff is like usually 13 before we like really start getting involved. And it's
Hmm.
not that some like we have 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds here actually when we walked in.
Yeah.
The biggest difference for us is like can they emotionally receive feedback? So like can you
Exactly.
take the feedback and can they apply it? They're unable at that level. Again, they're young, they're children, they're trying to play and have fun and be creative. Their brains are developing.
That's right. Yeah.
If they're not able to actually handle like take in and then apply feedback, it's okay, well, that's fine. Then go play, like be creative, let kids be kids, let them go outside, play and figure things out creatively on their own.
Mhm.
And then when they're a little bit older, a little bit more emotionally mature, they can then receive structured feedback and then apply structured feedback. Cause otherwise you're kind of spinning your wheels and being like, why is this kid doing this? Well, they're 10. Like
Yeah.
they're just writing in pen in school. Like, you know what I mean? So I think there has to be like understanding, like, okay, like you say the long-term path, well, that's part of it. It's understanding and managing expectations for a certain age group.
Mhm.
I think sometimes parents have to also, I think parents in general are really good about that, but I think sometimes you just have to reiterate, like, hey, like this is still a child that they're young. They have to kind of just do their thing.
Yes. And so that's been one of the things for us too, is that sometimes you have a really good 12-year-old and the parents want them up with the 15-year-olds. And so we've learned to sort of put the brakes on that and make sure that they are developmentally where they should be.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you can have situations where those kids peak too early or get burnt out and then they're out of the sport within a couple years. So again, it's all about long-term development. We want them to be lifelong runners, active, long term.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to burn them out by the time they're done high school, and we've been very successful at that. So I think that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, it's good you stand on business because I know like a lot of times when you have like a good young kid, parents will say, "Oh, I want them to be with this group. I want them to be doing this." You're just like, well,
Yes,
you're trying to put the brakes. Like, hey, believe it or not, we're trying to do what we think is in the best interest of the kid. Like, there is a
exactly.
let's not microwave them. Let's slow roast it. Let's just kind of do things. I know I'm a big food guy.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy, though. Yeah,
Yeah, as we try to say, hey, let's just slow roast it. It tastes better. Let's not just throw it in the microwave. Let's kind of do this right. But then, you're always going to be competing against people that will tell them what they want to hear. Someone will be like, no, we'll get it done like this. And you're just like, well, okay, like that's hey, you do you, but we have to
yeah,
kind of stand on the values that kind of built,
that's correct.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's a big thing. So if you had any advice for let's say parents who are looking to get their kids involved in track or even like choose a club, like
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you give parents looking to do that?
Yeah, I think that the team culture is super important. So, like I mentioned earlier, we are a large club. We have over 300 members, but we have a huge and very active and very lively community around us. And I think that that is what makes the difference is it's not just a club that you're a part of, it's a community that you're a part of, and track and field itself is a huge community, but it's very, very valuable. No matter what your situation is, there's something that all athletes can get out of it, whether they're 8 years old or 12 years old, 13 years old. So I mean, I definitely see the value of it for anybody. Um, and I would encourage, like I said earlier, I think even if you are highly invested in hockey or soccer, it's really a great secondary sport
Mhm.
because everything you do in track is only going to make you a better athlete for that primary sport that you are doing.
Yeah. So then let's kind of transition a bit to like, the athletes when they're getting ready for a competition.
Hmm.
Because track is like, again, it's very mentally driven as well. Like it's a
It
very,
is, yeah.
minute, like quick time to get things done. So how do you help athletes kind of handle pressure or kind of overcome that hurdle at, let's say, a major competition? Like what are some things that we're kind of going through that you're kind of helping kind of get them on focus?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, there's so many variables, not just the mental performance, but like the nutrition, the hydration, the sleep, all of those things. So the more that we can make those things routine for athletes, it's something that they don't have to stress about. So before a major competition, obviously the athlete has a schedule of when their event is. So we will lay out for them like when do they warm up, what and when should they eat before it, so they know if, let's say, they're racing at 4 o'clock, they're going to have lunch at 12 o'clock. This is what it can be so that it's a good lunch and it's not something that's going to, let's say, be super heavy and sit in your stomach for a few hours. Then they'll know when should they have breakfast before that. So that's sort of laid out for them. They have a plan of what their sleep should look like, sort of 7 to 10 days before that. Little habits like turning off their phone 30 to 60 minutes before bed, things like that, that also help. So we definitely do prep them on all of those little things
Mhm.
that can add up and help with performance. And in terms of the mental piece, we know that it is a significant factor for athletes. There is anxiety. Very commonly around things like that. So we do have mental performance and things like that embedded sort of throughout what we do. We have had sessions and seminars towards that. We have had kids work with sports psychologists if needed. So all those type of things are resources and sort of supports that we can provide to help
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Have you noticed any common mental traits among your most successful athletes?
I think by and large, track and cross country athletes tend to be strong academic students, but I think there is a correlation sort of between our strongest performers and some of our strongest academic students. And that just means that they have the traits of like being very disciplined, being very organized, having good time management. All those things that are going to translate to success in the classroom are also going to translate to success in a sport like this that's very performance driven.
Mhm.
So I think that definitely there's a correlation between that.
Yeah, we've always like been, kind of racking our brain on some things. And some things we've noticed like from the best athletes we've seen is that they're very quick to learn. Like they're
Hmm.
very quick learners and very quick to adapt to change.
Yep.
We saw that. Like I remember we had like a gymnast who was 11 or 12, and you give her one or two cues and then instantly picked it up, fixed anything, and
Yes.
like very like
Some are
just
able to do that. Yeah.
yeah,
Really
laser focus, and
naturally. Yeah.
you see that, and then you look at like your older athletes, like okay, and you try the same thing. You see the same thing among the best ones. Like man, they're very quick to just pick up a cue.
Hmm.
It might take you for the average person, maybe take you 3 or 4 attempts or 3 to 5 cues.
Yep.
This person can pick up one or two, and then they instantly can get it. You're like, man, this person's really good at quickly adapting to feedback and applying it really, really quickly. I'm like, okay, there might be on
Yeah,
something.
for sure.
You know
No,
what I
that's
mean?
a
Like they're
great
doing something,
observation.
they're
Yeah.
doing something well that anything you give like a change in something, they can reorganize really quickly and apply it and then learn how to optimize or enhance it to their archetype. Essentially, it's been very cool. So that's actually,
Yep.
it's interesting to hear that, your mental performance in times, your best ones, I should say, they tend to also be really good in the classroom. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
hey, there's something there. There might be something there. Um, is there a particular athlete, maybe like a story almost? Is there a particular athlete that kind of like totally surprised you and like maybe exceeded expectations? There was like a moment where like, man, that person, that's like a highlight.
Um, that totally surprised me. I don't think so. I mean, I think that I've generally known pretty well what somebody is capable of and what they can achieve. Like we've certainly had a lot of really, really outstanding athletes. I just don't know that I can point to one that I would say surprised me.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there like a coaching moment that you'll never forget?
Oh, I mean, there would definitely be several, but one of them being just this last December, we took a team of guys down to Knoxville, Tennessee. So they were competing against some of the top teams in cross country in the US. And they ended up not only winning gold, but by a pretty significant margin. So for me, that's one of them. We had taken a team down for the past 3 years. The first year they were silver, second year they were bronze. And we really thought this year, they can be gold. And so to see that come to fruition would be one of them. It's not always about those amazing performances, but that's definitely one that stands out. I also just love when our athletes kind of sweep the podium, and there's been times where we've been like not only top 3 but top 5 or 6 guys, and I think those are always pretty cool because it
Yeah.
it speaks to the level of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
It's like a
yeah.
dominating performance. Like bust out 2 podiums. You need more.
Yeah,
You
those
need more
are my
podiums.
favorite ones. Yeah.
That's kind of fun. Like,
Welcome to Iron Performance Center, Niagara's home for real personal and performance training. We're a community obsessed with building durable, explosive, game-ready humans. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just training that works. From athletes chasing scholarships, to pros chasing championships, to regular people who just want to feel strong, move well, and stay built for real life. If you're willing to work, you're our people. Our system is simple: smart programming, elite coaching, and a culture that pushes you to levels you didn't know you had. With modern technology and principles-based programming, we track your progress, teach you movement skills, and give you every tool you need to perform when it matters most in whatever arena you call home. Iron Performance Center, because performance matters.
what's like the craziest thing you've ever seen happen at a track meet? What's like the craziest thing?
You sometimes see it in pole vault, like somebody's pole snapping or whatever. But we've seen some pretty crazy hurdle races where somebody's like knocked a hurdle and it goes into somebody else's lane, and then that other person has yet another obstacle that they have to overcome. That would be maybe some of the craziest in the hurdle races. Or we've seen one where the top 2 girls both hit a hurdle and fell, and then the third, fourth, and fifth all of a sudden are 1, 2, and 3. So things like that can happen for sure. We always say anything can happen in the final. Yeah.
It's like playoffs, man. It's like, hey, anything can happen on a given day. The pole vaulting thing snapping would be kind of crazy. I can imagine like someone going up there all of a sudden, go.
Yeah, and I mean, those are the kind of things that you see on YouTube as like the reels that get people to watch it, but it is rare because you're jumping on a pole that's the appropriate sort of weight for you and the appropriate length for you. But I mean, it does happen from time to time. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What do you think? What are some challenges you think that local sport organizations are facing right now?
I mean, I mentioned earlier about facilities. That's definitely one of them. Maybe not so much for all sports organizations, but definitely for us, especially in the winter. Like I said, funding is always going to be an issue. Like there's not a lot of sources and grants out there. And for us, as being one that tries to keep things really affordable for everybody, we never have turned anyone away. We're always trying to help no matter what the situation is. And sometimes there's really nowhere to go to subsidize that kind of thing. So that's always an issue, not just for us, but for some families as well. And then sometimes I think it's just you also get sort of the oversaturation of things, or families and kids that want to be involved in so many sports, and it's great that they want to be super active, but then when you have so many things on your plate, you can't necessarily give the best to anybody. So I think that in some ways that can be a challenge as well. We have kids, or there are kids that are not active enough, but then there's also maybe kids that are trying to spread themselves too thinly, and that can be an obstacle as well.
Yeah, we see that. We see that a lot, because I would argue between like our high school, college, and pro guys, I'd say our high school student athletes, they have the hardest schedules compared to university. Like ironically, you have more freedom in university. It's like you kind of
you do.
You find your sport, you have to pick your timetables, you have some flexibility there. High school is like, well, they can't drive. Typically, they can't really drive themselves till later. Their school schedule is set. based on logistics of parents' work schedules and facility times and booking times. Like sometimes they're practicing late at night, you know what I mean? Till
Yes.
sometimes hockey doesn't start till like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, my God. Then kids get home like 11:30, midnight. They're going to bed. They have to wake up at 7 or something like that to go to school.
Or earlier. Yep.
You're like, holy smoke, man. So it's like,
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And then you have them doing different sports at the same time. I'm like, I remember we had a kid that was doing like 3 or 4 different sports, like soccer, wrestling, something else, something else. I was like, how many practices are you
Yes,
going to a
exactly.
week?
And sometimes it's you're going to school, then you have a school practice after school, then you have sport number 1 after that, then you have sport number 2 after that, and we've seen that as well. And then your entire day from, let's say, 6 to 10 or 6 to 11 is filled.
Yeah.
Then you get a few hours of sleep, and then you repeat that the
Yeah.
next day.
It's ironic how it's just like, if you're trying to set yourself up for like better performance and development, it's like, that's really not probably helping you as much. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And again, that's where track can feel that more than anything, because our performance, like if you have a soccer team, you can still be a part of that soccer game. You can still contribute to the team and to the game. But if you are running an 800 and you're tired and you're burnt out, you're not going to run your best 800. And so you will see it in track more than you will see that in your other sports.
Yeah, team sports, you can kind of sometimes bag a little bit and still get the win as a
Right.
team. Someone else can pick up the slack. But
That's
when it
correct.
comes to like individual type sports, it's like it all falls on you and it reflects on you and your preparation. Then that's where the
Yeah.
assumptions
There's
come
nowhere to hide
There's
in
nowhere,
track.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to hide in those individual sports. And like, that's the funny thing. Kids are doing all these different sports, and I would even tell parents, I'm like, listen, like it's great. You're same thing. Like it's great. You're trying to like, keep them involved and engaged, but sometimes they just need some time to just unplug and just exist. Like be creative. Like literally just sit there in a room and just be like, be creative, figure it out, do nothing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like just let yourself kind of come back to earth a little bit, because you know the schedule's gonna be chaotic. There's gonna be tons of busy things that come up, plus holidays, vacations, and everything else. Like
For
they're
sure.
all
Yep.
there's a whole pretty much 4 years are planned out for them where they're gonna be, what they have to do. So it's like, well, there's got to be some time where they can just kind of refresh and figure things out as well, and say, hey, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. I'm more passionate about this, and then
Yep.
go pursue that. Because it's like we see, it's funny because I've seen very few athletes overtrain. Usually,
Mhm.
overtraining, from my perspective, is not really an issue.
Yep.
I've seen a ton of athletes under recover.
So I was just going to bring up, like, when you're talking about, you asked earlier about the lessons learned. I was just going to say the importance of recovery. So we kind of got to the same place.
Yeah.
And I think that that's misunderstood, not just by athletes, but by parents as well. And so we've had parents, or we've seen parents where they're saying, like, if you're not doing something every day, like you're not doing everything you can to get better, like that's the recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
That's when you're actually going to get worse. So we enforce, even at our highest level, like they have to have one rest day, one recovery day where they don't do anything. Obviously, at the younger levels, they might have 2 or 3. That's super important. So that means that recovery day cannot be a soccer game or a hockey game, because then it's not your recovery day anymore. And then there's, in addition to that rest day, there's also active recovery, which can be things like biking, swimming, stretching, rolling, other forms of cross training. But yeah, if you are under recovered, you're finished for sure.
Yeah, I think they're kind of looking at just the do, but when it comes to performance, especially from our perspective of like, okay, every kid or parent will say, I want my kid to get faster, stronger, bigger, trifecta, bigger, faster,
Yes.
stronger. You're like, absolutely, yes. We're not trying to, our job is not to make them fat, slow, and sluggish. You know what I mean? We're not trying to make them fat, slow, and weak.
Yeah.
But there has to be certain thresholds that hit on a regular basis to be able to actually get faster or get stronger. It's not just, you can't
Right.
just do, if I say I need like a sprint at 90%, if they just dog it and they say I ran as fast as I could, like I have to believe them. But it's like, if you're running below a certain threshold, you're like, well, you're not really getting faster anymore. You're just kind of
Yeah.
running. You know what I mean? So it's like, knowing that, it's like, hey, we have to have time to recover and rejuvenate and be somewhat fresh to be able to hit these training outputs, to be like, hey, this is how we're going to move that needle. You said you want to get bigger, faster, stronger. We need certain outputs to do that. And then also understand that not all outputs are created equal. You know what I mean? If you have like an Olympic level, I would assume Olympic level like sprinter, he might do like a really hard 100-meter dash, and he might take like 3 to 4 days before he can even do that again. Like, because he has so much
Yes.
force being put in the ground, It's not the same as a 10-year-old. Like a 10-year-old
That's
can't
very
create,
true.
right? They can't create that much force in the ground, even if they tried to. So
Yep.
it's like the bigger the engine, the more time it takes them to warm it up and the longer it takes them to cool it down again. So it's like parents
Yep.
understand, like if you want these things for your kids, and let's even say the kid's like, I really want to get faster. I really want to get better. It's like, okay, well, understand that not all outputs are created equal, and we need to have a certain amount of like, freshness to us to be able to hit those outputs to be able to improve the outcome we want. We can't
Yep.
just be like, all right, I came from a soccer practice. All right, now I'm going to go run my thing. It's like,
And that does happen for our
yeah,
kids. That does happen. But yeah, kids don't understand that when we're talking about getting bigger, faster, stronger, that happens in the recovery, that happens in their sleep. That doesn't come from breaking yourself down during the workout. The muscles repair and then they get
yeah,
stronger.
it's not
So
what you do,
you,
it's what
you
you can
need
recover
to
from.
allow yourself the opportunity to recover. Yep. And so if you're doing a workout every single day or you're doing multiple workouts a day, you're not allowing yourself that chance. So,
Yeah,
yep.
there has to be scheduled time for recovery, and I think people have to understand like recovery is not, we have like this big pyramid that we kind of go by. It's like sleep is always gonna be the foundation. Like if you can get
Yes.
8, like it's not logistically practical for a lot of people, but if you can get 8 to
No.
10 hours of sleep a night, you're in pretty good shape if you can put that kind of hay in the barn, right? Then it'll be
Hmm.
hydration will be next, and
Yep.
then good whole foods that fuel all your carbohydrates, proteins. And then the tippy top of the pyramid is going to be like your Theraguns, your ice baths, your red light therapies, your acupuncture. It's like
Exactly.
you can't out Theragun poor sleep. You can't out
No, those are the
Theragun
smallest impact at the end of the day.
very
Yep.
small things. We can't even, let's not step over hundreds to be picking up pennies on the ground. Like, hey, let's make sure that we're covering the basics of, hey, just go to bed. Like you don't need to be staying up till midnight, 1 a.m. Like, why don't you try going to
Yep.
bed by let's start early. Let's just start like 10. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
see if that's possible. You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? Like it's always like it feels like we're having the same conversation year after year with different groups saying this. It's like deja vu. It's always
Hmm.
like deja vu. I'm like, I swear to God, I just said this. Like,
Yeah.
just go to bed, man. Like, it's free. Go to bed. Just turn your phone off and go to
Yeah.
sleep.
And it doesn't have to be 3 hours earlier. Like start with 15 minutes. And then once you
Yeah.
get that, then another 15 minutes. So make it incremental, make it manageable.
Yeah.
But
And then you might
yep.
enjoy, you might be in a better mood. You'll probably perform better at practices. You'll probably enjoy yourself more doing them because you just feel like a little bit better. There's nothing worse than,
Yep.
we've all had sleepless nights. You show up and you're like, man, like you're surviving the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how are you
Oh, yeah.
supposed to get better if you're just surviving the plan? You're like, well, you're kind of checking the boxes, but you're not really putting any intention
You have
behind
to do it with purpose. Yeah. And
it.
if
Yeah.
you can't do it with purpose, then you're not getting the value out of it.
Yeah. The
Yep.
worst is when they say, well, I did all this, 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 and I didn't get better. It's like, but how did you do this, this, and this?
Correct. Or then you go back to the sleep, the nutrition, the
Yeah.
hydration. So yes, you did those workouts, but you didn't do all the things that are sort of the glue in between it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think, and when it comes to like the high school sports, like I'm a little conflicted on high school sports because from what we know about, like, let's, assume like your 15U athletes or,
Yep.
let's say grade 9, 12.
Hmm.
Most of those athletes, if they have post-secondary aspirations, typically they'll get recruited from club,
Yep.
not so much high school. Like it's not like the States where, varsity to them is the next step,
For
right?
sure. Yep.
In Canada, it's all the difference. Like if you play club, that's where the kind of, coaches are looking at for the next level.
Yep.
So, we have players that will do high school practice and then club practice. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I'm like, now you're practicing the same thing 4 hours literally 4 hours straight
Yep.
of the same thing, but the
Definitely.
quality of the practice is going to be different. Now, I
For
think there
sure.
is a space for high school sports. For me, in my opinion, it's going to be like, hey, if you are let's say a B team type athlete or a recreational athlete, I think high school sports is a great step because now you might have a combination of some good athletes and recreational athletes. That's a place for you. But if you're like an elite athlete or like have the aspirations and can perform at an elite level, I think high school practice is almost like you're getting repetition, like you're beating your body up.
Hmm.
It's, you're giving something, it's costing you something physically,
Yes.
but the return is not as high. So then you have to go to the next practice, which is your club practice, and you're already kind of, $2 short in the bank and you got to go and put everything out there. You're like,
Yep.
what are we doing now, guys? Like the reps are not, we can't assume they're created equal. Those reps are not the same, So,
Agree. And that's something that we've navigated now for a number of years. And I think we've been pretty fortunate to cultivate some good relationships with the high schools that we have kids at. And so we found ways to keep those kids still involved and engaged with their high school teams, and then still getting those quality sessions and quality workouts with us in the evening. So definitely it's good to just have conversations about those kind of things. So a lot of the schools are willing to sort of let our kids be at the high school practice. They might help with warm-ups, or they're basically using their knowledge and their leadership that they have from us and helping their school team. So they might, if they throw javelin, they might help their school javelin throwers, like be like an assistant coach. So they're still involved, they're still committed, they're still there, but then they're doing their primary training with us in the evening so that they're not getting that repetition. They're not getting the dual practice. We have found once we really started promoting that and enforcing that over the last maybe 5 or so years, again, the number of injuries has completely gone down. There used to be lots of shin splints and overuse because kids were running after school and then trying to do a running workout with us after. But once we really tackled that and tackled it head on, we haven't had any of that in about the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's big thing for us is safety is always number one, because you can't like, that's the beauty about playoffs too, is like usually we have a ton of athletes, most of them being
Mhm.
like fall winter sports.
Yep.
They'll always come in like energized, ready to go in September, October, like everything's high and mighty.
Yep.
And I'm always like, love it. Um, show me February.
Yeah.
Show me February. You have
Yeah.
that same energy and that same everything you're experiencing in February when it's cold, dark, and miserable outside, and
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
about to enter the prime time of when you have to compete at your highest level. And a lot of times you start seeing injuries start creeping up in that time. It's like, well, what have you been doing for the last 6 months inconsistently? It's like, well,
Hmm.
you can't expect to be, you can't have elite aspirations and expect to perform when you have like, you're making recreational decisions. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like if you're committed to, like, no one's going to care who won the game in November. No one cares who won in December. They're going to ask who won the provincials, who won the nationals. When's that?
Right.
Over here in April or March or May, whatever it is. Like, great. So
Yep.
then that's the Northern Star for us is going to be that guy right there. So we have to make sure that we are healthy. Healthy athletes win championships. If you're plagued by injuries and then now that affects
You're
your
right.
ability, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
it's a big thing. So it's like like some of the guys out there now, it's like we're like they're doing like their sprint work as an example. Like we're counting their reps and okay, this is the total distance we're covering today. We have to stay within the speed threshold. The minute it drops below this, we're done. Why? It's like because you're no longer getting any better. Let's kill it. You know what I mean? We're
Yep.
tracking something so minutely. Like, yep, you are 20% below your output after whatever rep 6. We're done.
For sure.
That's
Yeah.
fine. You
And
know
I
what I mean?
think like we see the same thing and we appreciate the enthusiasm of it. But again, it comes to like more is not always better. More is sometimes worse. So making sure that you're doing the right amount that's going to get you the most benefit is really what it comes down to. So yeah, if you want to do 12 reps, you're probably going to end up worse off than doing like 6 or 8 really quality reps.
Yeah. Like, especially because it's a sport that's very quantifiable. You could easily track with speed gates and be like, hey,
Mhm.
this is what we wanted to hit today. We hit it. Get out, like get the stimulus and get out, like go back and recover and do what you gotta do to make sure you can do it again.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I think I always love the enthusiasm. It usually comes in the fall when school started. It's still nice weather out and everyone's all excited to
Yeah.
they have the
Winter
dreams.
is a different story.
It's
Yeah.
like right after Christmas break. It's usually right around exam time. Like I'd say end
Oh
of
yeah. It's
January.
a grind. Yeah.
That's when they start coming out like, well, I'm like, remember we talked about in October? Do you remember that conversation? You remember all that energy and ooh you had? Like, can we hold on to that a
Yeah.
little bit more? Because I know how it's going to go in February, and everyone's going to start saying, "Well, it's because of this, because of that." It's like that's fine, but then manage your expectations. If you're trying to be the
Yeah.
best, you can't do what everyone else is doing. You have to be very disciplined and very consistent with your routines. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, if you look at a big pie of your year, maybe 4 to 8% of your time is spent competing.
Mhm.
Maybe. The rest, the 90 something percent, is preparation. What goes into the 90 something percent? Your sleep, your practice, your skill ability, your training on the side, right? Your physical development.
Yep.
All those things are 90% of the pie that's going to lead to the 4 or 5% of the outcome. It's
Yep.
like, let's, broad picture and put that in perspective. So everything you're doing, every decision you're making to this point now is impacting your ability to do it over here. Right. And you can't just say, I'm going to go and do this thing when it's foreign to you. Like guys win
Mhm.
championships, they tend to keep winning championships and no one's surprised. Why? Because what's foreign to you is familiar to them. Right. So it's
Yeah.
like, like this is a tough thing for a young athlete to understand and hear. And I think, we've talked multiple times, multiple episodes about the dark side of being elite,
Mm.
like of being a high performing athlete. Again, if you're trying to
Yep.
be part of the 1%, part of the 1%, my voice is cracking. Trying to be part of the 1%.
Yeah.
There's a dark underside that comes with that, right? You're going to say
Yes.
no to a lot of things,
Yeah.
like
The sacrifices that you have to make. Yep.
exactly. And that's a big buzzword. They'll say, you got to sacrifice and discipline and determination, perseverance, rah, rah, rah. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? And when there's that fork in the road of like, I have to go do this, but I want to go do that. What decision are you going to make? Because that decision now is a reflection of the sacrifice you said you're wanting to make.
Yep.
Right. So I think.
And it may define where you end up going.
Exactly.
Some can handle it and some are not ready for those type of sacrifices.
And that's fine. But then I always say, just manage your expectations. You can't have elite aspirations and make recreational decisions. It's like, I'm not saying you're going to have to be the best in the world. It's like, if you truly want to be the best of what you're doing, right? You can't do what everyone else is doing. Whoever you're aspiring to be, try to get perspective on what that looks like for them. Like, they probably had a ton of things that they had to say no to. They probably lost friends, sacrificed relationships. They sacrificed a lot of things in this belief of what they're aspiring to do. Are you willing to handle that kind of, that consequence? And if the answer is no, that's fine, but then manage your expectations of your aspiration. That's my thing. Like, I'm not saying
totally agree.
It's never to shit on a kid's goal. Like, that's, if some kids say, I'm going to go make D1, I'm never going to say no. But my follow-up is like, here's what D1 guys have been doing in the past.
Yeah. Here's what it takes to get there. Are you willing to do it?
Yeah. Here's from our history of guys that have done these things. Are you doing these things? If no, the odds are not in your favor. That's not me shitting on your dream. That's putting it in perspective. Then you should start doing these things now and get ahead. And make sure you're prepared. That way, when you go onto campus or you get the opportunity, it's familiar to you. This is not new. You know what I mean? I think, I love kids that have these goals, these aspirations. I'm all for it. But there has to be a perspective side of things that are, make it a reality. Like, you can't just have a wish and not make it a reality. It's like, well, let's look at what the action steps to doing it are going to be. And again, even if you have a team, I think not every kid's going to go to the next level, and that's fine. Like, that's the whole point. But I think if you cultivate a team where the actions and daily habits align with that path, you might lose a few along the way, but your chances of having more kids go to that level if they aspire to are higher. You cultivate that environment. Like, hey, if you're 15 years old and you're on the A team, we're going to treat practice and prepare you as if you're going to post-secondary. Not everyone will. Maybe not everyone wants to, but this is how we're going to run our operation. And then if you aspire to, then you're in the right place. It's going to be on the path to get there, versus just saying the words and then everyone's like, well, I didn't get this. It's because of this. Like, it doesn't matter. You didn't get it. Why? Well, it's because you didn't do the things that those people are doing. You're just not good enough. Especially knowing that there's always going to be outliers. There's going to be freaks of nature that are just so naturally good. There are opportunities, but that's like the 1-2%.
For sure.
Most people lie in what we call like this gray area, the middle ground. And your job, if you're in the middle ground, is be the top of the middle, because that's where they're going to be plucking the next opportunity from. You have to be top of the middle to have that opportunity. And everyone's fighting for the top spot in the middle. You're not an outlier. Like in hockey, you're not Connor McDavid. Right. So then you have to fight for the top of the middle. Right. So maybe McDavid didn't have to do the things you're doing, but he's also an outlier. You're not him. So then you have to do what you have to do to get the closest to the shot. Right. And then that's a reflection of your daily habits. Like, we talk about confidence. Like, how would you define confidence?
How would I define confidence? That is a very good question. So I mean, it's just being able to, I think, go out there and get it done, do what you need to do, like, without being nervous or restricted or held back. That's what I would say.
Yeah, we did like a little poll. So we started asking some of our university kids and our pro guys, like, how would you define confidence? Because you say you're coach and parents, you just gotta be confident in yourself. What does that mean? They're like, oh, I guess believe in yourself. I'm like, well, it's kind of like a synonym.
That's true.
So, we kind of like figure, we kind of come up with this kind of saying is like, okay, confidence is a consequence of repeated proof. So it's like, it's a trust in yourself. Pretty much at the foundational level, if you have trust in yourself, that's confidence. So how do you build self-trust? Is essentially like no different than how you create trust with other people. It's like you keep your word. So if I say I'm going to wake up and go for a run, I will wake up and go for a run. It's actions driven, not outcome. If you're not saying you're going to go up, wake up, go for a run and set a record. Because now you're holding on to something that might not be within your control. It's an action step. It's like, hey, if you said you're going to read 5 pages of a book,
Mm-hmm.
You didn't set a time. You said, I'm going to read 5 pages. It could take you 2 minutes. It could take you 2 hours, but you said you're going to read 5 pages of a book. You
Yep.
do what you said you're going to do. You said you're going to go to practice and whatever, hit 5 serves. Great. You're going to do that. Right. You
Mm-hmm.
set these little action steps for yourself and you keep your word to yourself. And the more you keep your word to yourself, that's more promises you keep. You believe the things you say. That's a consequence of repeated proof. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Why?
Yep.
Because you've never not done it before. Right. That's pretty much what it is. So it's like people say, well, confidence is like, well, do you keep your promise to yourself? When you say you're going to do something, do you actually do it? You said you're going to go to practice and do this. Do you actually do it? Or did you miss practice for something else? Or you said
Yep.
you're going to go lift today. Oh, well, I was tired and everything else. Like, well, you didn't keep, why would you believe you when you don't believe you? Why would anyone believe what you say when you don't believe what you say?
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a consequence of repeated proof. That's where, but that is literally going to be all the daily action steps you take across your entire year, across your entire quadrennial cycle. If you're going to the Olympics, it's like, that's
Yep.
what it is. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people hold, and I get it. They have outcomes, right? Winning is an outcome. A gold medal is an outcome. And we've said this
Yes.
multiple times before. Two guys battling for Olympic gold medal, someone has to lose.
For sure.
There's a window of failure. Someone on that day is going to find it. You play that same game 9 times out of 10, it might change, but there's a window of failure. And your
Yep.
job leading up to it is to minimize it. Right? Someone's going to find it, but if you can minimize your window of failure, great. How do you do that? All these daily action steps that simply decrease that window of failure from being too wide.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you're less likely to find it. But it comes down to, like we talked about, those daily action steps done right. That small hinge is going to swing the big door when the whistle blows. So, I think kids and parents really have to understand and put a name and a face and quantify what these words are. We talk about sacrifice. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about confidence. We talk about perseverance. Like, they don't talk about like the dark stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, hey, you're going to probably have some arguments you're going to have confrontation with maybe friends, or you're going to have to say no and miss certain things. Like, are you emotionally ready to
Yes.
handle that? Like, if the answer is no, well, that's okay. But that's something that's going to come up if you're trying to be something different than everybody else. That's why it's called elite. You can't
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
can't just be like everyone else. You can't be, getting that $1 million opportunity if you're doing what everyone else does. Otherwise, we'd all be gold medalists.
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would be able to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. I think there has to be a common understanding of when we're getting involved at the higher level, paint that picture. What does it look like? Do your homework. Talk to athletes that are at the level you want to get to. Like, hey, what's your schedule look like?
Mhm.
How'd you get to where you are? Like, what was your schedule before you got to where you were? You know what I
Yep.
mean? So, and then there's kids that do that really well, and then we're not surprised. Like, well, no kidding, because we had some tremendous athletes. One athlete I'll always reference back to is one of our Harvard rowers who
Mhm.
battled the odds because, he had like a single parent household and he was striving to make
Yes.
the Harvard team. And you're just like, that is a elite goal for you and your sport.
Yep.
And I remember this guy, like, he was getting 90s in school, but before going to school, he'd be on the water or on the erg rowing.
Yeah.
He'd go to school, then he would come train with us. Then he would go to work at a factory
Yeah.
and then just do that day in and day out, day in and day out. And like he stayed back a year because to better his chances. So he watched all of his friends go away. He was by himself and just did that same schedule day after
Yep.
day after
The
day after
grind.
day.
Yep.
And then eventually he got that shot. They finally said, yeah, we want you. And then he could have took the easy path and said, okay, I'll go to school in Canada or do something else.
Yep.
But he got into like one of the most prestigious places and then he became a captain his senior year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Right. So it's like that to me is like, and you're not surprised. Like you're like, look at him, like he will make it. Like you're just such a
Yeah.
belief.
You can see it in certain kids for
I
sure.
get chills
Yeah.
thinking about him. Like I remember that moment. I was like so emotional when he got the offer. He's like, I'm in. I'm like, I was not
Yeah.
surprised, but you're like, man, that's what that feels like. I'm like, and then you look around and you see all these young athletes. You're like, do you see? Like, you don't even understand like what he had to go through
Mm-hmm.
day in and day out for years.
Yep.
Just to even get that shot.
And everyone's story and situation is different, but
Yeah.
like that's what we love about track too, is like the input output of it. So if you really do put in all that time and commitment and dedication, you're going to get the output out of it. So
Yeah.
whatever you put in, you will get out. So
yeah, I think it's so simple. It's hard. Eh?
yeah,
So simple. It's hard.
yeah.
All right, I'll try to go some rapid. I always like to finish off with some fun rapid fire questions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry. There's not too much thought to it. I don't think anyway. What do you think is the most underrated event in track?
I am going to say steeplechase because it's
I heard that
something that
before too.
people have not necessarily heard of as much as the other ones, but it takes a combination of endurance. It is an endurance event, but it also has technical skill in terms of clearing the barriers and executing the water jump. So it's something that a multifaceted athlete, if you do have some stamina, can do really well with.
Okay. Would you prefer short distance or long distance?
Right now, I've for the last 4 years primarily coached the long distance, so that's sort of the world that I'm immersed in more. So that right now, that's my preference. I actually do prefer cross country to track and field, even. So
Really?
I do, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't think you knew that, right? Okay. That's
Oh
cool.
yeah, that's where I've been for a while now, and it's sort of like just with starting the whole club, is it's not that that's where my interest was. It just that was where we had a gap at the time, so I ended up filling that group, and I've been with that group ever since. Yeah.
That's sick. Who's your favorite Canadian track athlete?
So I'm not gonna be able to answer this, and I'll explain why. Because
Nobody yell at me.
no, it's just I'm so immersed in like the youth sports world that I'm not even able to follow it at a higher level or a university level. So people, when the Olympics are on, people are always asking me, "Am I watching the Olympics?" Like I'm out of the house over 12 hours a day doing this, so I'm not there watching this type of thing. So I mean, there's lots of great Canadian athletes. We've met multiple Olympians, but I can't really point to one over the other. I think they all have great accomplishments. Yeah.
Sweet. What's your coffee order?
I also don't drink coffee,
Oh,
believe it, or tea. Nothing. No,
no espresso, no nothing? Little
nothing.
red eye?
No, no.
Man,
It's all natural, I guess.
man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to function. I think the boys and I finished a pot before 10 a.m. Like we're like crushing 2 or 3 pots.
So I do drink Coke. That's sort of what I'm known for, but no no coffee at all. No.
Man. All right. If you had to pick, what's your dream vacation? If you had to go away for a week, maybe a magic wand, what's your dream vacation?
So anywhere tropical. Like I'm also very into reality TV, and I have a whole history and background with that. So Survivor right now is filmed in Fiji. So if I could pick somewhere at this moment, that's where I would choose.
You ever watch Love Island? That's a big thing now. You ever watch that?
I haven't, but I'm familiar with it, and I know all the drama that's
Oh,
going on with it right now. Yeah.
it's crazy. I don't know. I don't watch it by choice. My fiance
Yeah.
might argue with me, but we watch Love Island. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, where's reality TV gone? Plus now it's always like so readily accessible. I remember like being
Yes,
younger, it was like Thursdays were Survivor, Mondays
that's
like
correct.
American
Yeah.
Idol. You always
Yep.
like had that day of the week where like, okay, I have my hour of television blocked off. Now it's like you're binging this stuff. You can binge like full
Right. You
seasons
can
in a
watch a
day.
whole season. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, man, there seems to be some patience to things. Maybe that's where the patience deficits come from. Man. Everyone's just so readily accessible. But
Yeah.
if you were not coaching, what would you be doing?
Um, I am still a supply teacher, and that's largely because this takes up so much of my life. So in a world where I didn't have this, I think I would be teaching, which is always what I wanted to do. But so many other things that I'm interested in. I've mentioned the reality TV. So in another life, I also did recruiting for reality TV shows, which I would still be doing if I had more time. I was always interested in like architecture and design, like houses and buildings and things like that. So that would be another potential path. Like there's really so many
Yeah,
possibilities.
recruiting
Yeah.
for reality TV shows must be hilarious. That would be crazy.
So it's one of the things that has sort of served me well in track also, because my brain has never turned off of that. So while it used to be looking for somebody that would be interesting on a reality TV show, a lot of our really top athletes have come from me seeing somebody somewhere. And whether it's been at a track meet or not, like sometimes it's just in school or somewhere else, and I can see somebody and notice the qualities that they have, that they would be a really good thrower or jumper. And so sometimes it's somebody that has had no background in track at all, and I've gone up to them and just said, have you ever thought of this? Or do you know what javelin is? Do you know what discus is? And they've gotten into it that way. And we've had kids that are provincial medalists, national medalists, record holders that have gotten started that way, just from simply being approached and asked about it. And ultimately, that's how I got started as well. So it's kind of cool when something random like that can turn into something positive and impactful.
It's a cool skill that serves. It's a good transferable skill.
Yeah.
What do you think your biggest pet peeve is as a coach? Biggest pet peeve?
Oh, there'd be a few, but one of them is just like simply not reading emails, not being informed. Like in an organization like ours, there's a lot of things going on, and we are sending out lots of information. So when we're getting questions of stuff that's been answered multiple times in emails, like I think it is someone's responsibility as a member of the organization to sort of stay up to date on those kind of things. So that's definitely one, like when I'm at a practice and I'm getting constant texts about stuff that we've answered 2 days ago, that would be one of my pet peeves. Yeah.
That's a huge, like, that to me drives me crazy. Okay, like, here's the onboarding email. All the details are there. Like, everything is there. I might send, like, we have like automation sometimes. We'll send them maybe 2 or 3, like, hey, just so you know, boom, boom, boom. All repeat of the details. And then like,
correct.
they have something like, what are you doing again? I just like,
Yeah.
at that point, I just don't answer. I'm like, man, well, like,
yeah. Or we're going to a meet and I'll get a text like, what's the address of it? I mean, you could look it up in the time that it takes you to text me what's the address. So,
it's like, we gotta be a little resourceful, a little autonomous. You know what I mean, guys?
Yeah,
like,
self-sufficient.
we're not trying to trick anybody here. It's like the answer is probably in your inbox somewhere. Just
that's right. Yeah,
and then you'll find the answer. Don't be bothersome with random text. It's always the admin stuff. It's always like it's like the donkey work.
Yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of it with a group this size. So
I can only imagine like running up like 300 people. Like, okay, that's a lot of people to manage. And like, okay, guys, we got to like start filtering out emails here. Like,
well, when you think about it, that's what, like 15 different soccer teams.
Yeah,
that's all one club. So
it's insane.
It's a lot. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they have like a few people managing just the emails alone. I'd be like, man, that to me is crazy. I couldn't imagine. Like, that's what. Thank God for automations. Like, you know what I mean? If it's at some point you just need a helpline. Like, okay, here, send your information here, and just you need those chat AI bots that kind of just answer the questions for you. Although people don't like those, but it's like, honestly, just be resourceful. People, like, check your inbox, read it. It's not complicated. We try to break it up in like 2 or 3 paragraphs. There's not like a long thing. Just boop boop boop. Well organized. Just search your inbox, please. Like, you'll save everyone a lot of grief. I think.
Yeah.
I'll finish with this one. What do you think is the most used phrase at practice? What's like an overused phrase at practice?
Maybe just something simple like dig deep, like when you're doing a hard rep, like something like that. Yeah.
There's no substance.
I'm sure there's other. Yeah.
Good job. That's always like
well, that's the most basic, I think, but yeah.
Good job. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you want some
or keep pushing, something like that. Yeah.
I think it's like, hey,
it's kind of like a stock phrase at the end of the day, but you're going to end up shouting that at some point. Yeah.
I think there's definitely use for it. For me, it's like, okay, good athletes want feedback. Good athletes respond to feedback. Great athletes want feedback and something they can sink their teeth into. If, they do a rep or something, they're just like, you're like, yeah, that was good. Okay. Like, maybe like follow it up with, I liked how you did this, this, or this. Right. Next time we'll work on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, I use it myself. Good job. But usually I try to follow with like, good job. I liked how you did X, Y, or Z.
Give something specific.
Something where they can sink their teeth out. Okay. So it was good. This was good. All right. Next time we'll do this. Cool. Like, there's some substance to it versus just generic. Keep going, guys. You're doing great. Go us. Just go hard.
Yeah. So that's more cheerleading than coaching, right? So there's a difference to that. Yeah.
It's like, keep going, guys. You're doing great. Like, just push harder. You got to fight. You got to want it. Like, oh my, I hate that one. You got to want it. I'm like, you got to want it. I'm like, okay, we would assume that if you're doing the thing, you want the
it.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like, got to want. It's like, well, it's like, I get it. You have to, like, I think, and this is a conversation I had with the staff too, is like, there's a skill component of strain. Like, you have to learn how to strain. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just, there's it's not just doing the thing. It's like, you have to learn how to strain to do something. Like, what does strain feel like? Do you know what a max effort anything feels like?
Yeah.
Do you know what fatigue, like true fatigue for whatever skill you're doing, feels like? Like, you have to understand what that feels like and make that familiar. So it's like, you just have to want it. I'm like, well, are they familiar with the skill of strain? Because like, and you can see sometimes too, people like doing something like they have more in them. So it's like, teach them how to like dig into that a little bit. So, okay, here you're going to keep going. You're fine. Like, bring them back to baseline. You're good. Keep going. We're going to do another rep. I want you to focus on this. Boop, boop, boop. And they'll be hurting. Like, it's okay. You're fine. Just keep going. We're going to do this, this, this. Go again. Go again. Go again. Give them something where they can just kind of cue it. Okay, go here.
Yeah.
Go here. Do this. Do that. Versus like, you don't want it. Like, that's like a very like old school, like, locker room. Like, you don't want it. Just dig deep. It was like, that to me never like resonated. I was like, that didn't really fire me up. I'm just like, well, like, give me my focus points. I'm gonna do this, this, this. I want you to hammer this, which I think, like, at least for our time, was big on film. It's like, hey, you're analyzing something, you're gonna do this, this, this. Like, you don't have to get all fired up. Like, when you start the event, you're gonna do this, this, and this. Like, try to get to this. That's all you gotta do. Try to get to this. It gives you a focus. Like, puts the blinders on. I have to get to this versus just go out there and do your best. You're like, thanks.
Yeah. And I think that's really one of the strengths of our distance runners in particularly. Like, they have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting up early, going on a long run, like they're doing grueling races, which can be through mud and rain and wind and all of that. So I think that's particularly where we see that come up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's also something that serves them really well in life too. We notice that there's a particular like discipline with an endurance runner. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed chopping up with you. So if people want to learn more about Thorold Elite Track Club, learn more about you, like, where could they reach out? Where could they find you guys? What's the best place for people to get in touch?
Yeah, so we do have all the social media, and they're at Thorold Elite TC. So Instagram is the one that we use the most. We do post the same stuff on Facebook as well. We also have a website. If you just look up Thorold Elite Track Club, it's thoroldelitetc.ca. That will come up as well. But we're very active on Instagram, so you can DM there. We'll respond there, or you can find our email on the website as well.
Yeah, that's good. No TikTok yet, eh?
No, that's the one thing that we're not on. Like, I don't look at it at all. Yeah.
I think Miles has started like our company one. I've never been on it. I've never been on it. I don't even know if we have one, but Miles parents said we have one. I'm like, I didn't start it. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're on there too. I don't even know, but we're mostly on Instagram. That's good. So
and so athletes, if they want to make TikToks, they can do that on their own, but we do not have one through the club. No.
Overrated, I think. That's one thing I'd say overrated. I think overrated is TikTok.
Yeah, I agree. That's my opinion too.
Yeah, my personal bias. All right, guys, this has been the Performance Matters Podcast. I want to thank Coach Fife for coming out today. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Right? We want to keep bringing you weekly rants, raves, revelations, some awesome guests. Okay, so make sure you click that like button. I think it was like Charlotte and Gab was like, follow us, damn it. Like, they're doing something funny on the last one. Like, make sure you follow us. So be like Charlotte and Gabby and just follow us on Spotify and, of course, YouTube and Apple. All right, guys, Performance Matters Podcast. Until next time. Peace.
Thank you.
That was awesome.